Hello. I just bought this Bible. It's called the Westminster Reference Bible. It's a large print. It's in the King James version. That's the only one you can buy it in. And you can see it's put out. I'll see it's a large print, 11.8, 200,000 references, bound in calf skin leather. It should say it's put out by it's a Westminster. I'm looking for the name. It is TB. I can't find it. TB. Somewhere it says TB. Hold on. Here it is, right here. Trinity Bible Society. Yeah. Okay. Now the print is on this Bible is 11.8. So, okay. I just wanted to show you. I just bought this maybe not even a week ago, and this is what did I say? Calf skin leather, yeah. So I'll show you what it looks like inside. It's not bad. I mean, like I wished. See, I wish these references were the same size as the print, and you can see how. Let's see if we can find some. Okay. You can't see. That's fun. Okay. Okay. Here's one right here. Okay. See how you can see that E. Now, see how small it is. It's too bad they couldn't have made that bigger too. I mean, of course, then if you made it big, maybe you wouldn't. It wouldn't look right. I mean, I have to use my magnifying glass. I have to. Look at that G. I guess it all depends on the lighting too. But I mean, I've had to come over here and use my magnifying glass too to make sure I had the right letter. But I think, I mean, there's definitely space. I don't see why they couldn't have made this the same size. But I suppose it takes up less space, more room to add your own notes in here. Yeah, and I'll show you. Just kind of flip through it. Yeah, see, I just. Oh yeah, this is another thing I want to show everyone too. Now see, I wrote in mine. I wrote the King James version. Now, the weird thing, when you look on front, there isn't anything that says the King James. Right? TBS, that's who puts it out. Large print. Holy Bible. It doesn't say it's the King James. I mean, and then you go in here. You might say, okay, well, let's look in here. This is. I thought this was odd. I mean, there's no indication it's a King James. Now the only thing. Now, if you look at this, a little closer. Now, it does say the authorized version. Okay, but not everyone will know what is authorized, so it's been authorized. Okay, I mean, I still think that they should have put the King James. They should have specified. I mean, I just felt that was really odd that they didn't even write on the Bible what translation it was. Yeah, I mean that's me. Those are just kind of. I just noticed that. I just started noticing it, but this is it's a good Bible. It's a little lighter than like the Thomson Chain. Okay, let me show you. Here is the Thomson Chain. reference Bible. It's a King James. Let's see if this one says King James. I'm sure it does. Revised and updated. King James. There you go. Now let's get this off. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, they say they specify. Okay, I mean, I understand that the Thomson Chain comes in different translations. I'm not sure how many. I know it comes in the NIV and the New King James. I'm not sure if it comes in anymore. Now here's the Thomson Chain. Here's the print-wise. Yeah, I'll bring it back some. There's the print. Now this, the Thomson Chain it says, if I can get it so you can see it better, is a 10.5. That's the print of the, and it's got 100,000 references. So the Westminster Bible has 200,000 references. Now, I mean, which one is better? Which one is better? They both have their good points, I'd say. I can't say one's better than the other. Now, the Thomson Chain, though, one thing about the Thomson... Now, the Thomson Chain is, first of all, it's thicker. This is a little thinner. I mean, as far as the Bible, if you put them on each other, as far as the Bible, they're the same size, pretty much. But this is this one is a little thinner. Okay. So, yeah, this one's definitely a little thinner. So it's a little lighter. Now, the nice thing with the Westminster Bible is when you open it up to a reference, here are your references, and then you just flip right to the page where it references. Now, in the Thomson Chain, in the Thomson Chain, you have to find the reference and then go back to like the numerical index. So you have to go to here and find it, and then from this, when you find it, then you go back to the Bible itself and find it. Whereas this, again, whereas this one, there it is. Here's the reference. Here are the scriptures. There it is. I mean, but the Thomson Chain has an advantage because if you can look up a certain subject, alphabetical. So you're right here in the back. So you can find a certain. You can look up, like say water. Oh gee, what's all the scriptures on water? See, what does everything say? I mean, see, you can say work. Oh, you want, okay. You can look up all these different references. Whereas the Westminster, you can't go by subject. You have to be studying, reading that page. So I guess they both have their advantage and disadvantages, though. But one thing I have to say is there are some people who say, well, I think I'm going to get this, and I'll get this Thomson Chain in a New King James. And then they say, and the weird thing, I hear people say, well, I'll get this in a New King James. That way I can read it better, because after all, it's the same thing. It just has takes out the these and thous. But that's not true. Yeah, I just want to say that to someone. It's the New King James and the King James is they're two different translations. Okay, they're not the same. They're not identical. You just don't take the New King James and say that that's the King James. They're two different translations. I mean, there are things in the King James that's not in the New King James. I've noticed you can't. But if you want to keep close to the King James, the New King James is the better one to go to. If you mean, I like the New American Standard Bible. Now, I like that, but that's not close to the King James. I like it. It's what Charles Stanley used to read from, and that's how I started reading from the New American Standard Bible. But they're two different versions. You know, I want to give you. I want to give an example. I'll give an example of that, just to let someone know. Now, here's some scriptures I wrote down. Now, okay, here's some scripture reference I just want to write down. Okay, we'll go to Acts 9:5. Okay, now this is Acts 9:5. Acts 9:5. Okay. Let's see. 9:5. Okay, now here's an example of the King James. Well, yeah, I mean, again, well, first of all, here's an example of the King James. Now, let's see, 9:5. So right here. Now, this is an example with the King James and the New King James both are close when they do this. Now these are some added words that are not in your New American Standard Bible either, which is a word for word, or your English Standard Version. It's not in there. Now this is right here. It says, okay, right here. Now, when you read this, and it says, "And he said, Who art thou, Lord? And the Lord said, I am Jesus, whom thou persecuted. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks." Now I said, well, what's a prick? Now I looked at it. What, a prick? So I'm thinking, well, poke. So I looked it up, and it's called a broad. In the New King James Version, it uses the word abroad. And what it was is, it was a poke it was like a stick or a poke that made the animals go in the way you wanted the animal to go. I don't know what it looked like or whatever, but in this verse right here. So in this verse, now remember your English Standard Version, your New Living Translation. Again, I'll say the New American Standard Version again, because that was my Bible I read through a lot. But it didn't have these extra words, and someone say, well, what's the big deal? That sentence right there is not in your English Standard Version. For example, that's not there. And you might say, well, what's the big deal? But it tells me something about this translation. It says, I am Jesus whom thou persecuted. It is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Now, well, it told me that just by reading that sentence, which is left out again in the English Standard, that told me that Jesus knew Paul. I mean, obviously he knows all of us, but also he known Paul. So Paul wasn't a person to 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 go against the crowds. Now, if you look in the Old Testament under the laws, it'll talk about that. Don't be someone who goes along with the crowd. That's right in the Old Testament under the law. So that's what it's saying. It says it is hard for thee to kick against the pricks. Yeah, because he. So I mean, even because when think about it, when they stoned Stephen, when they stoned Stephen, Paul was there, but it never said he stoned them. It said that the people threw their coats at Saul's feet, but it never said Paul threw it and he stoned. But he was there, witnessed it. It was like every time I read this little thing, it says, oh, that made sense. But Paul didn't seem to want to say no. He couldn't speak up enough to say that was wrong. He shouldn't be doing that. I mean, but that sentence is important. But again, you don't have that in those other translations. Of course, they have it in the King James and then the New King James, and that's it. It's not in your other translations. I haven't seen one other one that's in. Now, I mean, you got some people say, well, maybe it was added in and stuff. No, it's just okay. Maybe it wasn't in your manual script, but it just changes the meaning. That one sentence, it changes the whole meaning. I just wanted to show you, and then there are other things. So I'm just showing you how the King James is unique in its translation. Now, if you go back here, Isaiah. Here's another one. Now this one, I won't get too long into this one. Okay, now here's a. Okay, this is kind of weird. Okay, 14:29. Okay. 14:29. Okay, now listen to. Okay, rejoice not thou, whole Palestina, because the rod of him that smote thee is broken. For out of the serpent's root shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fury flying serpent. Now, the cockatrice. What's a cockatrice? If you look it up in the modern translations, it'll say it's a mythological creature. Now that's not true. The King James people 400 years ago, when they translated it, they didn't put in a mythological animals. They didn't do that. What the cockatrice is, and there's a few other places it's mentioned. The cockatrice is it's a small dragon that flies, and it's poisonous. It's very deadly, but they call it a myth. Your modern translations call it a myth, but that's not in the New King James. And the interesting thing, the funny thing about this is in a cockatrice, they say, shall come forth a cockatrice, and his fruit shall be a fury flying serpent. Well, in the New King James, in the New King James, it'll say, they use the word otter, a snake. It said, and your offspring will be a fiery flying serpent. In the New King James. Now, well, when does a snake fly? Someone say, oh, come on. Well, think about it. It said a snake. Now, in your even moderner ones, I say more modern because the New King James came out in 1982. But your New Living Translation, English Standard Version, they take the word fly out. They do a flying serpent. They take that right out of there. and they use snake. Well, no, okay, but the new, that's what I'm saying. That's one of the problems with the New King James. You're saying, I mean, this serpent, which again is not a myth. It just doesn't. It's not around anymore. But just like dinosaurs, they just aren't around anymore. That doesn't mean that they didn't exist. And even in the scriptures, the King James Version also uses the word unicorn. I've heard some people say, "Oh, it's a mythological creature." Why do they put in mythological creatures? No, the unicorn is not a mythological creature. If you go online, or you can actually buy it. You can buy a 200-year-old dictionary, and the meanings are a lot different in there than it is in the modern dictionary. I mean, they say a unicorn is a horse with a horn, and it says a mythological creature. Yes, a unicorn says that a unicorn that we think about is a mythological. Yeah, it doesn't exist. But the unicorn they're talking about in the King James, you go online and look up the word unicorn. It'll give you scripture references where it's mentioned a few times in the King James. Only in the King James, not in the New King James. They take the word out and use what a lot of translations are using wild ox, because I think because of that, people are saying, "Oh, it's a myth. Why is it in the Bible?" But again, it's just because we that's the thing we have to be careful with. I mean, King James. I mean, we have to keep that in remember. King James is over 400-year-old translation. A lot of words have changed then. Words. The meanings. We know the meanings. The meanings in here have changed so much. We have to keep that in mind. But that's just a little info, just a little information there. So I hope this helps.